What's going on, everybody? Doc and Sloth back again. Average Gamer Guys for Halo Wars 2 content. So we told you we were going to bring it to you, and we are. This is our 2v2 colony deck guide. So if you're like us and you want to use the DLC and you want to use the new guy, this is a great guide for you. So we've got a couple videos. You'll probably see one. We'll probably put up one maybe the day after we put this up. But we want to give you the decks. We've been seeing some success. Not 100% success, but honestly, the setup is good because it works a good strategy, and also really keeps you in every game. I think we've seen some decent diversity for the games that we've played, and through that, while we didn't win every single game, we were at least in the fight to win every single game, and maybe that's a little bit of our lack of skill coming in there for not winning some of those games. But generally, the strategy is that Sloth's going to talk to you about his deck first. He is essentially trying to work OP Ridge. With this deck setup we got on screen now, his whole point is to take the ridge between B and C and hold it. My job is to collect energy and be the one that more so fights and is actually physically on the points. Now, we'll both do a little bit of both. I'll help where I can to pump the ridge up. If I see maybe he needs some reavers or something like that, or an extra Blisterback, and if he sees that I need maybe a little bit more support to kind of really lock down a point, he'll throw units that he can there. But generally, his strategy, like I said, he locks down the ridge, I fight for the points, gain the energy, and so far it's working out. So Sloth, talk to us about your deck.
So yeah, like you said, I'm gonna go really defensively here. I want to look at range, and I want to look at being able to really set things up in kind of area of denial type of idea. So you're actually gonna see I have three separate locusts. I'm not happy about it, but it's a good strategy. Standard locust at 40 is never bad. Blood fuel has all that sustainability, and then enduring really packs a wallop. That thing is really going to hit a lot of units really well. Um, those are going to be the main things that I want to put up on OP Ridge. If we're doing pretty well on energy, and if we're able to really sit back and really turtle on B and C, I'm going to drop some Blisterbacks down on the OP Ridge there. The other big thing that's really going to help me there is I'm going to utilize that living barrier just on the other side of my locusts so that I can slow down enemies that are really pushing towards all of my guys up on that ridge. So if they're going to push up a bunch of tanks and stuff like that, I'm going to want something that slows them down and forces them to attack this unit that I don't care if it dies. This little wall. They can sit there and attack that while I start attacking them just to give me that extra little heads up. The nice thing about having a little bit more ability with like banshees and engineers and like the jumping ability of the prowling reaver is I can set them up on the ridge with me, and I can go to B or I can go to C without having to walk all the way around. That's going to be something I really utilize to help Doc hold B. I'm going to throw some Banshees over there and some Engineers. I'm going to jump that Prowling Reaver over. If I'm not really essentially worried about blast units, I'm going to throw that Ironclad Wraith in there as well. Stuff like that. And I can even offer up some Skitterers. I actually cannot attach Skitterers to a teammate's units. I can only attach them to mine. But if I throw some Skitterers on a Banshee and an Engineer, that's actually going to help give Doc that much more firepower. The big thing with the Ironclad Wraith is it's great to help with B, and it's great to help with C and all that. But if I see I'm going up against Shipmaster and I'm worried that they have an unstable Banshee, they're going to fly in and take out 12 of my units because I have all these Locusts just chilling up there and these Blisterbacks that are not mobile. I'm going to park an Ironclad Wraith there. I would rather use lose 140 energy unit than to lose 12 different units. And obviously, I'm just throwing those numbers out there, but that's actually really helpful. So that kind of thing is nice. And also, I'm going to use Scarred Hunters as my main go-to kind of just give some muscle onto the points that I can just leave there. They're not particularly mobile, but they have a fantastic damage output. We actually do a unit comparison video after every DLC that comes out, and we see a 6.7 second time to kill on a Wolverine out of those Scarred Hunters versus a second or 2 second difference depending on the unit. We'll actually link a comment, or we'll link down in the description to our spreadsheet here, and we'll link to our video where we talk about all those units kind of in a vacuum by themselves, as well as in a discussion versus an enduring locust and a blood fuel locust, things like that. But those scarred hunters are going to be really, really good for doing stuff like that. That's going to be my big main thing. That's going to be how I use a lot of these units. The big thing as far as fighting massive armies that are coming in, if they decide to do two big armies coming to attack Doc alone on B, and they kind of are just flirting around the outside where I can't actually attack them from the ridge, I'm going to throw Suicide Grunts down. The colony does not have a fantastic leader power to do a lot of damage. Now, the way to kind of combat that, use Blast Unit. Use the Suicide Grunts like they're a glassing beam, like they're a Mac Blast. Do that kind of thing. Soften up those numbers before you kind of get in those big battles. And that's going to be something really nice, especially if we kind of move a Prowling Reaver up a little bit, where it's still cloaked and they're not attacking it. Then we drop a Suicide Grunt in while they're still amassing their army, and they might not even see it coming. So that's going to be another way that I really help Doc, but stay really defensively and really push on that ridge and just kind of entrench in there and just anchor down tight.
Right, and the nice thing too about, like you said, Colony not having that direct damage dealing power, you need the blast unit. The blast unit's also really great. If they do run big armies, a lot of times it's hard to move a big army completely out of a blast. So like Sloth said, you get that thing in there. I have them for myself. And also, if they, for whatever reason, do take that ridge, maybe we have a bad fight and they get established first, having Suicide Grunts, having the capability to get them up there and drop them in, that's a perfect counter to entrenched Blisterbacks or their own Locust as well. So all around good unit to have, but really good setup. I like the way Sloth runs it. And jumping over, we'll take a look at my deck, which not too much different from my 1v1, but a few slight differences that I do want to highlight on. So I actually, and Sloth laughed at me when I first kind of ponied up this idea. I don't run any Locust here. The real big reason for that is, again, my focus is to fight on the points and to fight for energy. You see, I've got the Chopper, and actually Assault Elites is a new addition for me. Those two, as well as the Grunt Mob, really are the three things that I'm going to use pretty consistently throughout the game to grab energy. I really am liking Grunt Mob for the rush ability, and the fact that you get 3 units. They're great to spread out and drop along multiple points to kind of just set up and grab energy without having to manage very much. And if they die, they die. And in a fight, they're really not too bad either. They can provide some good damage. And if we start to see some of the spam, type of, pretty consistent or a lot of infantry, this is a great counter to that. The rest of the deck, my whole philosophy is I always want to have the counter card. So I really have 3 units that are really good against infantry, setting up with the Assault Elites, really the Banshee and the Grunt Mob, as well as the Chopper. I have the pair of hunters, as I call them, the regular hunters and the scarred hunters. I absolutely, as Sloth talked about, we did that unit comparison video. They're both great. Scarred hunters are absolutely awesome. And Scarred Hunters is a unit that I really don't mind dropping in Fatigued, actually, because of the increase in the damage output that it does, and the fact that, even if it takes some damage, it has additional health. It usually sustains in the fight, and then I can just get an engineer over to it and heal it up. I have the 2 Reaver set, so again, always trying to have that counter unit on hand, a relatively low energy curve, which allows me to not spam so much, but I will say always make what I feel like is a good mixed army fight. Having an anti-infantry, having an anti-vehicle, and having some anti-air, as well as a healer in the group, is pretty easy for me to get almost consistently throughout the entire game. I do throw the Blisterback in there because I do want to help really lock down that ridge. If I can do that, I'll throw one of those up there, help Sloth out. Also, if I can get cheeky and we kind of force them off of A, I will actually set up and establish a little bit on A, throw a Blisterback above that, just to provide us a little bit of additional persistence on some points, so that our fights are more spread out, which really benefits us, I think. And then, honestly, Sloth doesn't run it, so I have to run it. And you got to have the Hunter Captain in there. Absolutely awesome, especially later on in the game, when you start to face some of the bigger, tougher, higher energy cost units like your Grizzlies, your Ironclad Wraiths. I think this is a perfect answer to that. And the fact that it's good against infantry and armor, and then really holds its own against the air, plus can really soak up a lot of damage, makes this a real easy choice. So that's our setup. Like I said, we've had some pretty good success with it. We're not the best at this game, so we won't say we've won every match, but we set these decks up, we fine-tuned them a little bit, and so far we're having some quite good success, and always, at least in the game, making good fights, running 2v2. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it was helpful for you. Let us know if you have any questions for us, for sure, about specific unit picks. Also, like I said, we'll link down below, and as Sloth said as well, we'll link the spreadsheet for our unit breakdown, and we'll also link to the video where we talk specifically about each of the cards for Colony, to kind of help you understand why we make certain picks that we do. So please do check those out. And as always, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe, hit that little bell button so you get the notifications. Follow us on Twitter, and join the Xbox Average Gamer Guys Club. We put up all different information on there, especially when we're doing our new live streams, or for instance, like we have this new videos coming up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I've been Doc, that's been Sloth, Average Gamer Guys. Thank you so very much for watching. We really do appreciate all the support, and we'll check you in the next one.